ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to No Man's Land here in Farming Simulator 19 with me, cwattyeso. It is time to do some harvesting. Also, quick mod update for you. This trailer mod, the lock axle mod, should hopefully be in a position whereby the trailers don't move anymore when you disconnect them. The mods had an update, and the hopefully it fixes the issue of the trailers going walkabouts when they're not connected to vehicles. So that's a good thing. I think we'll all agree that's a good update. Right, we're going to do some combining today, and we're going to be checking out, obviously, what effects precision farming has on our yield, because this is the first field we'll have harvested which has been correctly limed and fertilized with the precision farming stuff and things, you know. So we'll be checking that out. This will be an excellent test, all concerned, to see how does precision farming affect the yield. Because from what I've seen so far, it plays a very big part on yield. So much so that actually it's causing a bit of a problem in the game at the minute for people who like to do contracts on their maps, who like to play on maps which have contracts. If you do any harvest contracts and you are running precision farming, you will probably notice you can't actually complete any of the harvesting contracts because you can't actually harvest enough material to satisfy the requirements needed to meet the contract completion. And that's because the AI farmers are not doing precision farming. They're not doing lime spreading, they're not doing fertilizing, they're not doing that kind of stuff. So as a result, their fields do not yield enough stuff to actually meet the contract completion. And a lot of people are finding and reporting that with precision farming enabled, if they're trying to do harvest contracts on the map, they can't complete them. And they're having to basically use their own crops to make up the missing crop to be able to complete a contract, or they're having to cancel it once they realise they can't. So precision farming obviously still needs some tweaks, or the base game really needs some tweaks with regards to its tolerances on contracts. Because obviously that's quite a serious issue. If you're playing on a map and you're start from scratch, or farm manager or something like that, you're trying to earn some money by doing contracts, obviously harvest contracts tend to pay quite nicely, but at the moment you can't complete them, so you kind of lose that aspect. And for people wondering about how, obviously, whether I would be using this mod on servers in the future, on my server, again, people on the server like to do contracts and like to do harvest contracts, and if you can't complete the harvest contracts, that's a big element of the game that unfortunately you're going to be losing out on. So we need to have a bit of a think about that one. Of course, it depends on obviously what map we play on. I mean, if my next server map is going to be, you know, Freedom Farm by Stevie, then contracts aren't going to matter because there isn't going to be any contracts on that map. Because we're going to own all the land at the start and going to be building and setting up the map for ourselves, sort of thing. A bit like a no man's land, where there's no fields when you first start and there's no contracts and stuff. But for a lot of people, that could be a deal breaker, not being able to do harvest contracts. And especially for those people who play with like seasons and don't really have a lot of stuff to do anyway. Especially in your first years when you're just starting out on the map. A lot of people love getting to the harvest period because they've got their own harvesting to do, and then they get a chance to make a load of money for the winter ready by doing harvest contracts. And yeah, people are getting a bit shortchanged there. Quick screenshot while I'm here. I really should set up some better buttons to do that. To disable the HUD. Right, so I've done basically one headland so far. And I'm not doing straw, as you will have noticed. I don't want to pick it up. $94.95. Right, we'll check this in a second. While that's unloading, let's go and have a look at our precision farming map. So, yield. Not great. Not great, I would say. And for those people wondering, we did kind of over nitrogen. We over fertilized. We had bad levels of nitrogen. So that's going to negatively impact. Having too much fertilizer is bad. So this field is probably going to be very bad when it comes to yield. We're probably not going to get anywhere near 100% because I completely over fertilized it by manually applying fertilizer to the field in its different growth stages, because I was trying to get the field to look green on the nitrogen table when actually it doesn't necessarily need to be green, because it's the nitrogen value for the specific crops. So what I would probably say is on this table is ignore the colour codes and the colour system and instead focus on making sure you have got the right nitrogen kilogram per hectare for the crop that you are intending to grow on the field. That is basically what I've learned so far from my brief time with precision farming. And that is, like I say, it does seem, however, that from what I've tested, you use far less lime and fertiliser now. Far less lime and fertiliser. So that is going to save every farmer a lot of money. Are there now additional steps to getting, obviously, the fields to the right levels, statuses? Not really, I don't think. You still lime every 3 harvests like you were in the base game. And like I say, with fertiliser now, it's a case of apply it for the crop. And I would almost go so far as to say, if you have a seeder or planter that can do fertilising, you probably shouldn't ever need to do either fertilising before or after seeding, because the seeder should adjust the fertiliser application for the crop that you're planting. So it should put the absolute correct amount of fertiliser that crop needs in that one pass. So if anything, I would think with precision farming you will now have less work to do, because you shouldn't need to do the additional fertiliser steps or the additional fertiliser passes. You know, you should get pretty much maximum the correct fertiliser status amount when you seed the crop, if you have the seeder set to obviously automatic rate adjustment. As long as you have the automatic rate adjustment, the seeder should take care of everything for you in its pretty much single pass of the field. As we can see here, this field, I mean, some parts of this field are okay. We've got some green harvesting. Going to be a little bit more difficult. Say the next test will be the canola field, because the canola field will probably yield better because it is actually fertilized correctly. So yes, this is a good example of what happens if you don't get the fertilizing right. If you ignore what the screen is telling you and instead worry too much about getting, you know, you're worrying too much about getting the fields looking like green when perhaps they don't need to be. So yeah, the yield on that field is going to be more. Unfortunately, what we can't do on this, because of the way No Man's Land is set up and the way mod maps are set up, is you can't really use the economic analysis screen properly. Which is a bit of a shame. To see if you're actually going to get... To see how much money you're making by, you know, doing a field with precision farming. I think I've got that axle locked. We'll just unlock that. Now I'm actually driving round. We'll take this down to whichever sell point is offering the best price. It is going to be Vehicle Shop Grains today. So that is where we go. Vehicle Shop Grains. Vehicle Shop Grains. Grains. Vehicle Shop Grain. Let's see, how much money do we get? Should be quite a nice 23 grand. Not bad. Not bad. Obviously, we'll go back. So yes, my first field has been an absolute disaster with precision farming. My first harvest. Because I got it all wrong, got the fertilizing all wrong. It didn't help that I'd used the wrong fertilizer sprayer anyway to begin with. I used that drone thing, which was rubbish. Should have just used a regular old sprayer, which I did in the end. But then obviously I was more focused on getting the map looking green than actually getting the correct levels of fertilizer applied for the oats. The correct amount of fertilizer for the crop on the specific soil types. So yes, this field is a good example of what not to do for all you would-be farmers out there with the precision farming DLC or mod. And what we'll focus on is obviously the next field, which should obviously be much better in terms of yield. I've reset all the information. Because that's measuring all that as being a field, and that's not right, obviously. So yeah, this map's not going to be a good example of a map to show you how that economic analysis screen works. You really need to be on a map which actually has proper fields built into it. And again, one thing I have already sort of learned from doing a bit of research off camera is, again, that the economic analysis thing here, it works great if you've got, like, you know, one field on a plot of land. But if you happen to have like a plot of land which has a couple of fields on it, then again, it doesn't, you know, it tends to go a bit screwy. Same way as if you merge fields together. If you merge and join a couple of fields together, you're not going to get an accurate economic analysis. And that's just a limitation of the game, the way the maps work, the way the fields are set up on the maps, because there's a limit on the number of, there's a limit, I believe, on how many purchasable land areas you can have on a map. I think the map limit is 60 farmlands is the most you can have. Obviously, within that 60 farmlands, you can have as many fields as you can make and generate on the map. But then obviously you're going to have multiple fields per farmland. And that's where it gets a little bit confused. Yes, actual maps with actual hard-coded, built into them from the start fields work much better with this DLC than any kind of maps where you make your own fields. Or I think even maps which have hard baked in fields, if they have areas on the map where you can make additional fields yourself, again, I think you're going to have issues with any custom created fields being registered and detected correctly. But it's nice to see that a lot of maps are already getting updates from mod authors where they're actually putting in a custom soil map. So they're not using the generic soil map that Giants provide for any custom maps or custom mods. Because Giants have done soil maps for Ravenport, Fellsbrunn, Erlengrat, and Estancia Lapacho. They made sure in the mod they have custom soil maps for each of their maps, and then they just provided one generic soil map which covers all the mod maps and works with all the mod maps. But obviously a lot of mod authors now are making their own, and obviously Stevie, who, you know, I play a lot of his maps, he's updated all of his maps, Fenton Forest, Snetterton's, Freedom Farm. He's done that this weekend and released all his maps with an update to now support custom soil maps from the mod. So we're doing very well. We're getting maps with custom soil types, with soil maps built into them, releasing. There was one on the ModHub the other day released by Missy B. She's released a map and it has a custom soil map and several other little things built into it. I was watching a map review video that somebody did on YouTube of that map, which was it was a nice map. I did see a couple of little issues with it though. The fact that she's built in support for the placeable factories mod and a couple of the other new production mods that we've had come out just recently that use the animal system. Anyone again who's watched any of my current multiplayer map on Snetterton's, any of my server stuff over on Twitch, if you've watched any of those videos, you'll know we're using the placeable factories mod on that map. And what it does, it basically, the factories are basically fake animals. They're basically animals that you provide food to and they output, you know, something else. And that's how they work. The problem with that is, obviously, each of the buildings, each of the factories that you place counts towards the animal pen limit that is built into every single map. And by default, again, the game limits you to 10 animal pens on a map. 10 animal husbandries. So if you've already got animal pens placed on a map, or a map includes animal pens, then obviously you're going to have less room for placeable pens or factories. And obviously, I mean, on PC it doesn't really matter. You can get mods. You can get mods on PC that remove that limit of 10 animal pens, so you can have all the different factories. Again, I'm using that mod on the server, so we can have all the factories on the map at the same time as having all the animal enclosures. So we, you know, we've got the chickens, we've got the sheep, we've got the cows, we've got the pigs, we've got the horse pen because they were built into Snetterton's map. They're already on the map when you start, so you don't have an option to not play the animal pens. But then what we found is that again, I've seen just lately there's been a few of these mod packs coming out where people are using this animal system. They're using this animal system to create factories, and I believe the only reason they're doing that is because that's the only way you can have production factories on consoles. Because obviously on consoles, on PC, our production mods generally use either the fill type mover script that Farmer Shuby made way back when, which people like GTX and that use now, or people use the Global Company mod, which obviously is probably the bigger, more well-known factory production mod system. Obviously, console players don't have that luxury because they don't have access to those mods because of Sony and Microsoft's limits on scripts. So a couple of, well, one particular map maker came up with this ingenious system of making fake animals to be factories and do cheese and flour and crisps and sunflower oil and all these other things. The problem with that system is those factories only work on maps where the map author has added all those different new custom animal types to the animal husbandry file within their map, and also added all the new fill type information, all the new fruit types, fill types and products to their fill type and fruit type data on the map. And the problem that a lot of people are finding is that if they try to use these mods on maps which haven't been set up to with this information, that the minute they go into the menu, try to access their animal information, they can't. It breaks. And if they try to go to an animal dealer to buy animals, or an animal pen to buy animals, they can't. It breaks. And that's because, like I say, those mods only work on maps that have been set up for it. And a lot of people I've seen a lot of people on Steam, on Giants, on different mod groups that I'm a part of, different Discord groups, all complaining and reporting that they can't access the animal menu. They can't buy animals on their map. And you know, 99 times out of 100, it's because they're using either the Placeable Factories mod or some of these other production mods that have come out recently, and they're playing a map that doesn't support it. But obviously the problem is that if map authors go down the road of supporting these mods, you're running into the issue now whereby, and certainly like for the console players who have this 10 animal husbandry limit on their maps, you run into this problem whereby you have more factories, more production buildings than you do have slots for husbandry. So it almost gets to the point, if you're playing on like Xbox or PlayStation on a map, you need to decide right from the beginning, am I going to have animals or am I going to have factories? Because you're not going to be able to do both, because you've only got 10 slots. You've only got 10 slots for animal husbandries, and if each factory takes up a slot and counts as each factory counts as a separate husbandry, in much the same way that one chicken pen counts as a husbandry, one sheep pen counts as a husbandry. So you can have any combination of husbandries. You could have 10 chicken pens on a map, but then you couldn't have anything else. You know, you couldn't have sheep or cows or horses or anything else if you went down that road. And I think that's the next thing I can see happening. The next thing I'm going to be seeing all over forums everywhere and in mod groups and Discord groups and things like that is people then complaining that they can't place animals on their maps because they've placed a load of these factory buildings and then they've hit the limit. So yes, I can understand, like I say, I understand what the mod makers are thinking. They're trying to find ways to bring functionality to console players, but at the same time they're doing it in a way that's not really ideal and efficient. I say the great thing about the fill type mover script or the global company script is you can have as many production buildings as you like. It doesn't interfere with anything else. You know, it doesn't interfere with your animal pens. It doesn't break any menus in the game. Also, what's great about those mods is the fact that you only need the one script. You only have the one script running, either the global company or the fill type mover script, and then all the different production buildings, all the different factories, mods, etc., reference that script. So again, you don't have the issue of having 5 or 6 different mods loading 5 or 6 different scripts and messing up your game, you know, because this, you know, let's be realistic, people, this game isn't very well optimized. And as anyone who has recently bought Cyberpunk on a console will know and will appreciate, games built for hardware that's, you know, over 10 years old at this point in time don't tend to run and perform very well. They have severe restrictions and severe limitations, and this game is no different. This game has got a very limited or very low level for scripts. Okay, you've probably seen it a few times actually. If I've ever shown you the log, if you've ever seen the log file, you'll notice that sometimes it does this emergency garbage collection where the game tries to dump and clear its memory when it starts to get, you know, close to the limit. And that's And that's, like I say, that's the problem. You don't want too many mods that are running scripts, because the game doesn't have a lot of room for scripts. This game is very script heavy. Obviously, everything in this game is script heavy and Lua script, by, you know, from the base game, all the base game stuff. And then once you start putting mods on top of that, you're hitting a ceiling. You're hitting like a cap, because obviously, again, the game's only got limited memory and limited resources because it was designed and coded for the console hardware, which is so out of date and behind the times compared to, say, PCs. And I've often reported this, you know, when I've looked and been playing on the server, and we've been playing online, you know, several times I've shown people during the streams how little this game actually utilizes my PC hardware. Doesn't use my processor at all, really. I mean, it's using, I mean, I'm running OBS right now on my computer alongside the game, so I'm recording and rendering video at the same time as I'm playing this game, and I'm using 19.7% of my CPU. As far as my GPU goes, my graphics card, I'm only using 27% of my graphics card. So this game doesn't take advantage, and obviously once I start playing on, like, say, like a Stevie map, one of Stevie's maps with his high resolution textures and some of the other things, because one of the things I've noticed from Stevie's maps, and this is probably my only one criticism of Stevie and Stevie's maps, when I've actually had a look at Stevie's maps in a bit more depth and actually gone in and looked at the files, quite a number of times now, certainly on his last couple of maps, certainly on Freedom Farm, there's a lot of instances where he's using the wrong file format for texture files, pictures, images, anything within the thing, and using the new Giants test runner tool, which allows you to check mods for errors, using Giants, basically what Giants use when they're doing their mod testing for the ModHub. It allows basically mod authors to basically test their mods before they submit them to Giants, and they'll get obviously a lot of the basic mistakes that mod authors make highlighted straight away, so they can fix them before they send them. There's no point sending in a mod that's got you know the most basic errors on it, because it will just get rejected instantly. And obviously one of the most common mistakes a lot of people make is the different file formats, having images in raw formats when they should be in, you know, a compressed, optimized file format, and then it's using the wrong file format. So one of the common ones is, and again, maybe this is Giant's fault for doing this, having different file formats in the game, but a lot of it, some of the image files, they want certain images to be DXT1 encoding, and then they want certain images within a mod or a map to be DXT5 encoding, and a lot of time people get them back to front. They get confused between which files need to be DXT1, which ones need to be DXT5, blah blah blah. And certainly when I ran through Stevie's map, Freedom Farm, I ran that through the test tool the other day. There's a lot of issues with images and textures in his maps not being the correct format, using the wrong encoding, which makes them unnecessarily the wrong size and bigger than they need to be, and taking up more memory than they need to. And also there's a few other things with Stevie's maps, like a lot of redundant files. There's a lot of files in Stevie's zips in certainly like a Freedom Farm, which are leftovers and remnants from his previous maps that aren't in use in Freedom Farms that he hasn't removed. So they're just taking up space. They're just taking up storage space. And again, the great thing about the test runner tool is it shows you those. And you could go and delete them, which would then reduce the file size of the map greatly. And also it would free up some of the memory in-game when you are trying to play, because it's not loading a load of files it doesn't need into the available memory. Right, well, we finished precision harvesting, and you know, looks like we got 95% in some places, with possibly 100% creeping into a few other places. But we then got like a lot of 75%, 70%, 80% yield. So we certainly didn't get maximum yield off of this field, and that was because of me over fertilizing. So the next test will be what happens, or what are we going to see? Wow, the brakes on this harvester are rubbish. So when we come to harvest this field, which is perfect lime, perfect nitrogen, will we see a better yield? I would expect to see a much higher yield off of that field. But we'll have to wait and see in the next video, folks. So for now, thank you to everybody who has watched today's episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please go ahead and click that like button for me. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And leave your questions, comments, feedback in the comment section down below. And share this video everywhere you see fit with whomever you see fit. See you all again very soon. Goodbye for now, folks.